Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Animation Appreciation Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana Stargazer, and today I will be covering Disney's A Goofy Movie. Let's begin. The lighting and scene change as Max's dream becomes a nightmare, down to the fact that the wheat that he had been pushing out of the way has become thorns. Max's Mickey phone was every 90s child's dream, including mine. The Nerds comic books have the following on the back: thrilling live sea people. Just add water. Hours of nonstop fun guaranteed for only $1. I guarantee you that this ad is actually about sea monkeys, and this ad needs to calm down. They're not that interesting. The next ad says, do you need extra money? Of course, $20 is yours. Usually, the purchase you had to make for these things were super expensive, so it was not worth the $20. Then we see a Scrooge McDuck reference in the mailing address. It actually says Duck Sales Co., Money Bin Drive in Uckburg, USA, but anyone who has been a fan of Tailspin and Darkwing Duck and anything that takes place in that universe is actually going to recognize McDuck Sales Co. on Money Bin Drive in Duckburg, USA, because there is only one duck in the Disney canon who needs a money bin that has its own mailing address. Mail order things like this and promotions were actually very common in late 80s, well, clear through the 90s. And in some cases, they still exist. They're just not as bizarre as they used to be. I remember seeing an ad for X ray glasses. They really work. I guarantee you they did not. I didn't get them. Also, let's take a moment and admire the reflections that are in the record shop window, including Roxanne's as she walks by. Someone hand painted that. And this movie was actually done with cell animation. So, yes, someone hand painted every single cell. Yes, there are several background characters that are repeated, and as anyone who's been here long enough will understand, I often praise people for not repeating backgrounds. But with a movie of this scale, with this many different sets and places they go, with this variety of background characters, it's understandable that they had to repeat. A few of them, like exactly carbon copied, like the cheerleaders. I'm trying to remember more of them, and just other characters here in the high school scene. It's actually not a thing after he leaves high school. So right now, it's just to me, it kind of feels like everyone in high school is dressing and acting alike. Real quick, I just wanted to make sure that you're paying attention to everyone's facial expressions because sometimes the story is not actually being told other than just in the facial expressions that flash across people's faces, and they are, in fact, very well done. And in case anyone doubts it, yes, this movie is a valid representation of high school and how it felt in the 90s. I remember that my high school had bright green and gold because high school, and it still felt desaturated because high school sucks. Looking back on how I thought Bobby was cool is quite embarrassing, but Max is still cool and so is Powerline. Goofy, and getting old is when I realized Goofy's actually a pretty cool parent. While being a kid, I remember thinking he was just the most embarrassing thing ever, and no matter how old I get, that principal's speech is just god awful. Though science lumber parties do sound fun, but not when I was a kid, and it's as lame as it always has been. Max's little song and dance number as Powerline is actually double impressive if you consider the fact that that was the entire AV club of one doing it. Go Bobby. Also, during this moment, Max is actually trying to sing his second I Want song with After Today being the first one, and this one being the second one, clarifying his actual desires. He's using another character's voice to tell his own story for now. If anyone doesn't understand why no one can recognize people with glasses on, human memory is contextualized. Dolly Parton actually lost a Dolly Parton contest. If you don't expect to see a celebrity or a person in a set role, then when they show themselves in that role with like a mask or glasses on, sometimes you don't realize it's them, even if it's kind of obvious in hindsight. And Dolly Parton was not the only celebrity to have lost a lookalike contest of herself. It happened with Spider Man. Actually, I think every Spider Man. And yeah, it's not uncommon. Also, in case it's not widely known, I just wanted to go over pay per view. Pay per view was the same as renting on Amazon or YouTube or anything like that, except instead of having to tell it yes like 5 times that you're sure, you just clicked on the channel and you were automatically billed on your cable bill, and your parents were very, very unhappy about it. Professional photo studios used to actually exist in Sears. I don't even know if Sears exists outside of anything actually because it closed down here. So I'll actually tell you that it still exists in J.C. Penney's, and all of those cringeworthy family photos that come from the 90s and more modern were all done through J.C. Penney's and Sears type stores. I remember back in the 90s, school officials overreacting to innocent things like what Max did. I still don't think that that was that big of a deal, but I remember them calling our parents like we were delinquents and gangsters. Even I'm not old enough for the blue light special thing, so I'm going to go ahead and explain that. I had to ask my mother what it meant. My mother had told me that some stores, usually I think it was like Kmart or something, I have no idea, would put a big blue, red, or yellow or whatever light special on top of a display and it would spin just like in this movie. And those were supposed to be the deals of the day. Why on earth it's random tchotchkes, I've never been able to figure out, but it could be anything from beans to these little fishing men. The nuns we see at the photography studio are actually the same ones we'll be seeing throughout this entire little adventure of ours, and I will be pointing out every time I see them. As Max goes through the crowd, instead of moving from the topmost shot, you can actually watch the kids one by one despawn. That is how Disney made so many movies as fast as they could while still doing them all by hand. Small shortcuts like repeated background characters and despawning people when they can get away with it. Any little shortcut they could take to make it not noticeable and still get their budget in is exactly what they did. Max casually saving a child's life while he is singing about piece of cake standing out. Here he says Goofy's best friend is Donald Duck, who we later see hitchhiking trying to go to California, and he did not even stop, look around, or anything. Some friend leaving his bestie sitting on the side of the road trying to hitchhike. Max's change on the map is actually there from the very first time we see the map. The map says, "Please note, do not go this way," pointing to the east. This map belongs to Walter P. Goofy, crossed out, Benjamin Goofy, crossed out, all Goofies. Don't forget the saucepans, exclamation point, as well as all the stops Goofy himself has chosen. Why is why is there only one gas stop? I have That's a clear cross country trip and that car is so old there's no way it only needed one stop. I often quote this little bit Goofy does with all alone to my husband because it has become what would have been considered a meme of my generation. During Open Road, you actually see a man with a shiny glove waving his hand. That is a Michael Jackson reference. Instead of swearing, they stop Max from saying hell by having Lester say it. My life is a living hell. And then Lester says hello, which is the only way Disney will allow us to swear. Also, just take a moment and appreciate the look Max gives Lester when the kids drag him away. Lester deserves it. The kid says, "Don't touch me," no matter how old they are or how young, and an adult does not listen to them and gives them a hug anyway. They deserve what they get. Lester absolutely deserved the slap and beat it doofus and being drug away and attacked by children. As a kid, I remember how embarrassing this would have been. As an adult, this adventure sounds great, and it is good that showing us both sides, both Max is caring about what other people say and Goofy not caring, just wanting to have fun, so that we can't really hate either characters, even though Goofy is technically speaking the antagonist of this story. When Max is actually rolling the crank to bring the window down, which is a very common thing before push buttons, you can actually watch the window go down in the animation. It's very subtle, just a light little white slot going down, but it is actually something I noticed and I wanted to, bring to everyone's attention. I really do appreciate the fact that even when Max is mad and we're kind of mad at Goofy, we still feel sorry for Goofy because he's just trying to be a good dad. The way they show how PJ feels about the whole way his dad treats him is delightful. He was scared, well, of his dad while he was in the principal's office, while Max was kind of, meh, my dad will understand. And I'm just saying that makes me feel like Goof is a better dad, while Pete chose fear, Goof chose respect or understanding. The cigarette lighter thing Goofy does when he's trapped inside his car is actually a valid thing. And while watching it with my father, he said that while he was driving a truck on the road, he actually would do that at rest stops so that he could have some hot soup. I didn't know that until he told me. So, long as you can balance it or just were willing to hold it together, you can do that. The lighting changed from blue to red as Max changes the map. From the way Goofy acted when he was told, all Max had to do was suggest they stop for the concert, explaining what happened, and then go fishing, he would have agreed. Max is allowed to pick the stops by then, that could have just been one of them. At the diner, the sign says gas and diesel. Eat and get gas. Having eaten at many diners, I can confirm that is double meaning. Also, whoever wrote that joke thinks they're funny. The diner is on Route 66, which we actually see throughout the movie is the path they have chosen. Route 66 is a famous and popular historic highway known from my parents' generation till at least mine. I have no idea if the new generation knows about it. But it's supposed to have all kinds of popular stops and, well, historic landmarks along the way. And it seems all small town diners have the same decor of license plate from whatever area someone has come from. The nuns are in the diner here and also at the Monster Truck Rally in the next shot. The map is Acme brand, which is a popular cartoon brand. We see anything from Wile E. Coyote on. Every cartoon in the, I think, 60s to 90s had it, actually. The silence after Goofy finds out, how just everyone's facial expression changes, telling us what's going on inside. How the fact that Goofy went from being loud and rambunctious to silent. The jarring nature of it showing just how betrayed he felt. Nobody Else But You is a song of platonic love. Not all love is romantic. In this case, it is the platonic love between a father and son. All the animals besides the fish in the song are father and son duos. Their storytelling in terms of sound and the water animation here, before we ever see the waterfall, we hear a roaring, and we can actually see that there are more waves in steady increasing volume so that we can actually see that the water is becoming faster. Even with the dim lighting of the waterfall's shadow, we can still see Goofy's tears of joy as his son performs the perfect cast, showing he was not only paying attention this entire time, but he actually loves him and cares, was just preoccupied. Once again, we see the nuns, this time at the Powerline concert, which seems to have been their ultimate destination. The larger woman who sings for Powerline was actually previously seen in the Open Road song. In fact, we can even see his photo on her mirror. We I actually ended up double checking this, but not only is she part of the crew, but the man of her dreams is also, as he is the one seen rolling Max into the back room in the drum case. At the very end of the movie, the small creak as Max leans forward to get out of the car. Someone in sound design knew what they were doing. Speaking of sound design, let me take a quick moment and tell you a little bit about music theory. In Open Road, they are singing a round, which is where one person starts a song, and after a short time, they sing the same melody but in a different offset pattern. So it's the equivalent of delaying to start a melody but singing your own verse. It's supposed to represent how they have the potential to be in time and be together and in rhythm and in harmony, but right now they are just out of sync. And actually, when they sing Nobody Else But You, they are perfectly in harmony and in sync, which is also finalized by them singing and dancing together in Eye to Eye, which is, them finally singing Eye to Eye. This movie has a special place in my heart as it is one of my favorite Disney films, and I was so happy to review it for this. So, that's all I have for this film. Thank you, and thank you for listening. And always remember, if it's animated, especially when it comes to cell animation, someone did it on purpose. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.